Alrighty. Hello everybody and welcome to the stream. I hope everybody is doing well. We are live both on YouTube and Twitch. And I do have a bit of an announcement that I'm going to make once more people file in. So regarding tomorrow's stream anyways. Spiro, how's it going? Welcome. First, it's good to see you in chat. Hope everything is going well for you. All right, so what we're going to do tonight is, you might notice I'm actually on Windows again tonight, is we are going to make sure that things are working well on Windows. We've done a lot of our refactoring. In fact, all of our refactoring has been done on Linux. So tonight we're going to go ahead and check out the Windows build, which, full disclosure, I've actually done some stuff offline just to kind of smooth things over a little bit. So we're going to work on this platform just for a little bit, just to make sure that we didn't miss anything, right? Before we get too far into things, though, I do want to take just a quick second and thank the supporters of the channel, starting with the partners, who are the highest tier of subscription over on Patreon and YouTube memberships. They are Dustin Pumped, Gabby Bashir, and Gerbullies Inc. I would also like to thank all the other supporters listed here on the screen. They are a combination of the other tiers of support on Patreon, YouTube memberships, as well as Twitch subscriptions. So thank you all very much for your support. It helps me quite a bit with the channel. That being said, I also do want to extend a thank you to all of the viewers here on YouTube, whether you're here live or in the VOD, as well as all the viewers on Twitch. Without you guys, this project would not exist, so thank you guys for being here. This is designed to be an interactive stream, so feel free to jump into chat, and I will answer them to the best of my ability as we go here. So, all right, with all the housekeeping stuff out of the way, Tamond, how's it going? Good to see you. How's it going, my dude? All right. So, what we've done, and actually, I think I'm just going to pull up the diff here, because there's some of this stuff that's relevant and some of this stuff that isn't. Let me see. Let me grab the other editor, which shall not be named, for a second, just so we can quickly view the diff, right? The good old VS. So what we've done here is I made a slight modification to help speed up the build process on Windows. And that is using the -J option in Make, which means that it can split up the jobs within the makefile to be multi-threaded, so that we can sort of get that, the compilation process, get a little bit more speed out of that. With that, we had to make a couple of small modifications to the make files, and we had to add this not parallel scaffold to both of these. And basically what this is this scaffold is what makes sure that the folders exist that need to exist for both the object and bin directories. And it also handles the versioning file. So that's what writes out the various version .h files for all the libraries that we use. So it generates that, writes to the file. And the reason that we don't want that to be parallelized is because that has to happen first. Otherwise, some of the other jobs that rely on that will fail. So that has to happen first, but everything else can be split up into multiple jobs, mostly when we're talking the compile and link phases, right? So that is what that is. Oh, this is actually a non-needed change, so we can get rid of that. Let's see. I did make a small change to the report assertion failure, just to the format of the message. So now it's file line like this. And what that does is, in our debugger, when we have an assertion, because it's file followed by a colon followed by line number, that allows us to actually click the file in the error message in the console. and go right to it. So that was just a small enhancement there. Let's see. As far as the platform Linux, I just noticed that there was a no check-in comment here, so I just removed that. Win32 is where I had to make a few changes. So we forgot to save off the window width and height based on the client width and height that we calculated further up. And then we also weren't allocating memory for our platform state, so that was failing. Platform Win32, we no longer have as part of the window handle info the hwind. That is actually handled or considered part of the window object itself, so we just made that change there. Shadow Graph render node for some reason had a Vulkan header file referenced in it. Not sure why. So that was removed. And then Vulkan device, as I was doing some troubleshooting, I changed this VK check to a result is success check with a fatal log that writes the Vulkan result out as a string, right? Diamond, how's it going? Thank you for the tier 1 sub. I appreciate that. Welcome. So that's basically all the changes that we had thus far. So let me go ahead and catch up on chat for a second here. I'm doing great, Tammin. I appreciate it. Ruche, thank you for the Spear Rush emojis there. Dr. Elliott, how's it going? I am doing well. We are actually looking at the Windows version of the engine tonight, just because, we kind of have to support it because most of you guys use it. So we're on Windows tonight. And basically we're going to resolve more fixmes, right? Tianri Leet, hello, how's it going? Good to see you. First time chat, OG proof. I've been learning this stuff for the first time lately and I've had a hard time wrapping my head around it. That is fair. So first of all, welcome as a first-time chatter. Welcome to the stream. But also, this stuff does take quite a bit to learn, right? You're not going to learn all of it at once, and that's okay. Which is one of the reasons I always say repetition is best. Practice is best in terms of learning, right? The more you do it, the more it'll stick. So don't be afraid to look things up continually, repeatedly. I have to look Vulkan stuff up all the time. So just stick with it and keep writing code. And eventually, I promise, it will start to make sense and things will start to click. How's my week going? It was 103 here this afternoon. Very fun. Yeah, so actually right now it's a little bit cooler this week than it was last week. But last week we had a day where it hit 103 here as well. Fahrenheit for all of you guys. All of you international guys. So that's basically just shy of 40 Celsius. All right. Ethel Wolf, thank you for the follow. Appreciate that. Welcome. All right. So I think that, yeah, caught up there. Let me just see. Mean Mr. Mustard over on the YouTube side. Want to go to bed, but I won't fall asleep until I know what you wanted to say about tomorrow's stream. Fair enough. So we're going to get to that now. From Lake, good evening. Okay, so tomorrow's stream is going to be different. And now that we've got some people in here, I'll probably mention this again later on in the stream as well. But we're going to do something vastly different tomorrow in tomorrow's stream. So for those of you who may not know, tomorrow is actually a holiday here in the U.S. It is Independence Day, which means I have the day off from work. So what I am going to do is I am going to use a bunch of parts that I recently acquired to build a secondary testing machine for Kohi. And we're going to live build that on stream, right? And all of those parts, incidentally, have been paid for by the revenue incoming from the stream. So when I say that I reinvest that money back into the stream, I'm not kidding. And so what the plan is we are going to build what I consider a sort of medium-low spec machine that basically has the opposite sort of architecture that I have on my large machine here that I use. So this machine that I'm on right now has an AMD CPU and has a NVIDIA GPU on it, and a pretty beefy one at that. and it's got like 64 gigs of memory. You know, it's pretty balls to the walls. You know, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to build a machine that has sort of the opposite of that. So it's going to have an Intel CPU. It's going to have an AMD graphics card. And it's going to have, I think I got 16 gigs of RAM for it, which on Windows 11 isn't that much, right? And so the idea there is to not only be able to test it with a different set of hardware, but also to be able to test it with a machine that is not, you know, super blazingly fast, right? So I purposely bought hardware that is not top end, but is more like medium to low spec for that purpose, right? So that'll allow me to test just a couple of different things with that. And I'll also be able to use that probably to automate build processes as well. So multiple uses there. But yeah, we're gonna build that on stream tomorrow. And that includes, you know, building out the physical machine and then, you know, installing Windows, however long that takes. And then also setting up, you know, a dev environment on that, right? So that I can download Kohi to it and get that building and running on that machine. Am I going to set up automated tests on the machine? Maybe eventually, yeah. So I haven't decided that yet, but yeah, it probably will be double use for that. Yeah. Neaterbit, how's it going? First time chat, welcome. So yeah, that's the plan for tomorrow's stream. And so with that, obviously that's not going to fit into the normal time balance of what we normally do here. So I'm going to be starting the stream early tomorrow, which is going to be at 1 p.m. Eastern. Is it Eastern Standard or Eastern Daylight right now? I can never remember. It is Eastern Daylight Time. I always mix that up. Okay, so it's 1 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time is when we're going to start that stream. And we're going to go a few hours, right? Probably till, you know, maybe 5-6 hours, something like that. We're going to see where that winds up, right? So that is the plan. All right, let me... Thank you for the 20 bits, Ruche. Message effect. I've never seen that before. That's got to be a new thing that they added on Twitch. It like outlines your whole message. That's really cool. I didn't know that was a thing. So yeah, I think that stream is going to be pretty fun. You know, I'm going to change my camera setup here a little bit, and we're probably going to wind up building it like right there. So yeah, it should be interesting. Hopefully everything goes smoothly, and you know, I didn't get any defective parts or anything, right? That would stop it, but we'll see. Everything's brand new and packaged, and I have it all sitting over there. So we're going to do that tomorrow. So I'll also put out reminders on Twitter and stuff like that as well. Okay. Let's see. Finally released the demo for our game, and it feels really good to have something out there. That's awesome, Dr. Elliott. Would you mind... Actually, let me see. I think... Can you try dropping a link in chat real quick and see if that works? I wouldn't mind linking to your game because I've seen your stuff before, so try to drop it there. If not, maybe you can drop it for me on Discord and I can copy it over. But yeah, I don't mind advertising that for you a little bit. 2 p.m. on Brazil for all of us Brazilians on this stream. Awesome, yeah. I wasn't sure exactly where you got. Yeah, I guess that makes sense geographically that you guys would be an hour off. Diamond. I love the emote there. You can gigantify that apparently for 30 bits. Well, thank you for the 30 bits first off. I appreciate that. I didn't know that. When did Twitch add this stuff? That must have been like in the last day or so because I haven't actually seen that. That's really cool. Thank you for the hydrate redeem, by the way. It's been a couple weeks. I guess I just didn't see it. At least 1 week. I should probably just... you know what it is I always like manually type the bits in chat. I don't actually click the thing. So that's probably why I didn't see it. I usually like manually type out cheer 100 or whatever. That's pretty cool, though. All right. Singy, hello. How's it going? Now that you're nearing the end of the refactor, are you planning to start your game soon? Yes. 1900 GMT plus 2 Amsterdam and Paris. Okay. That makes sense. Yeah, so we are going to be starting a game soon. So what my plan is we're going to finish working out all the bugs on Windows and Linux, and then we're going to have a stream where I cover all of the changes for Mac OS, and we're going to stream off the Mac. So that's also going to be a little bit different of a stream. And then once we have all that in place, and we're sure that it's fairly stable, then we're going to merge that into 0.7, cut new version, and then start developing the game against, I guess, what would be considered 0.8. Okay, so we covered all of this. Let me get rid of that. All right, so if we run this, just so that you guys can see what we have here. All right, so it works on Windows as well, right? Looks decentish, right? So there's a couple things like if I open the console, we don't get any sort of font rendering of any kind, right? So that's not good. Like it still works. If I type exit, it still does it, right? But that's something we should probably try and fix maybe tonight. Also, window resizing seems to poop itself, so we're gonna tackle a couple of those things tonight. Actually, let's check out the window resizing first, since we're kind of in that mode, right? So I'm just going to maximize this, which is interesting. So this is very interesting because on Linux, it totally would not even run. So it looks like we're just not updating our viewport and probably our scissor. And I'm going to guess also the swap chain image is probably not getting resized either. So if I resize this back, oh, no, it did actually recreate the swap chain. But this is a little bit sus. So let's look at this and see what's throwing that error. Okay, so window from handle. Okay. So the reason that we have to do this is because, oh, you know what? We might not actually have to do this because we have this. What do we need? Wait a minute. So we should be able to look up the handle this way, but we're not actually achieving that. So let's relaunch this real quick. Right, and I'm going to put a breakpoint here and hit maximize. Right, so window from handle. DRA length of state pointer windows is 0. So why would that be? So we do a DArray create of kwindow pointer type, right? So that should be a double pointer, all right? So it's an array of pointers to windows, right? All right, we're gonna skip that for right now. Looks like we don't push to the array. That's a simple issue, right? Platform window create. We just don't push it. Okay, so let's do that here. So we'll do darray push. State pointer Windows. And then we want window. It's almost 3 a.m. here in Austria. Continue watching tomorrow on VOD. Gute Nacht. All right, Mean Mr. Mustard. Have a good one. Thank you for joining. Pointless sharing, but I've been learning Fusion 360 lately and designing my 3D printer from scratch. That sounds like a lot of fun, actually. That's pretty cool. Is there a specific reason you are using the ASCII functions in Win32? I've seen lots stating Unicode is preferred now. Just wondering. Habit, honestly. I've been writing Win32 code for so long that it's normally not even really a thing. Like, there's not really anything that I'm doing that requires otherwise. The only thing that would require otherwise, I suppose, would be the window title. Right? So I suppose at some point I could switch. Be easy enough to do, I suppose. We could do that. Let's see. Do we actually have multi-window applications? Oh, this is actually supported now. I don't know if we actually have anything here. Wide character handling for Win32. I have that checked off. But obviously not if we're using message box A, right? Did we? Is that the only A that we're using though? No, we're using create window XA. Okay, yeah, so that's probably something I should do. Let's do. Since it's technically kind of, I'm going to say, you know what? I'm going to uncheck this because that's obviously not done. I don't know why that got checked. Maybe I started to do it and didn't finish. I'm not sure, but yeah, should probably finish that up at some point. Oh my lord, I've spent 2 days fixing a memory leak in my scripting language, and this whole time it was an and instead of an or in an if. Ugh, I hate those. That's rough. Read that line like 5 times and concluded it was right for some reason. Yeah, I mean, sometimes when you're in it, it's hard to see those things, and sometimes you have to step away from it and come back. Code blindness is a thing, absolutely. Yep. You guys are seeing it here on stream. On stream, I usually refer to it as dingus-oriented programming when I'm screwing up on stream, you know, but happens to the best of us. All right, so let's see if this does the thing. Did we get a W? We did. We have the correct window. Perfect. All right. So I'm just going to let that continue. And it's pooping itself. Sweet. Why? Where's my... Do I really not have a console.log? Why is it not pulling up? Okay. let's see what the validation errors are. It's probably the same thing over and over again. All right, so object 0 is the main window command buffer. Okay, object 1 is probably the window. Nope, image view. Okay, and here is the message ID. I'm gonna do this. All right. So p rendering info. Oh, wait, what is this call on? VK command begin rendering. Okay. So rendering info p depth attachment image view width 1280 is less than render area offset x rendering area. Okay, so it did pick up the new rendering info. Oh, we're not resizing the depth image, is what I'm getting from that. Okay, so the depth attachment is less than the width. You know, the width of that is less than the width of the entire thing here, right? It doesn't fit. Okay, so is this next object the same thing? Is it also image view for? Yeah, that's also depth attachment. Are they all depth attachment? Stencil attachment. Okay, so depth and stencil attachment. Okay, we're just not resizing that image. No big deal. Okay, so let's close this. And let's go to, let's see, where's this going to be? Is this going to be on the... Is it going to be on the front end? On a window created. Window destroy. Okay, resize. Okay, it looks like we foisted this off to the back end. I suppose that's fine. Interesting that we're releasing the resources here on the front end, but we're not acquiring them here on the front end, unless I'm missing something. We may want to sort that out, actually. On window resized. Yeah. Okay. So this should only actually get called when we're like done resizing, right? So when we're in the middle of resizing and we've got all these resize things going on, we have to pass a certain number of frames before the renderer's actual resize gets recalled. So that way we're not regenerating all these resources all the time. So I think I should just be able to do... Actually, I probably can do it from here. Before we do, let's see, should we do the back end resize first? Let's do the front end first. So we'll say if not k handle invalid. And the handle we want to check is going to be the window render state depth buffer, right? So if we have a depth buffer, then we're going to do renderer texture resize. Why is that bleating? This System state, okay, so we pass through the state. Oops. Pass through the states, the texture handle. Okay, so that's also going to be window, render state, depth buffer, render texture handle, which we actually did the wrong thing here. And we have adds. Let's see. Very noob question, but do most game engines actually solve partial differential equations for force computations, gravity, contact, mechanics, flow? Or is it just realistic enough approximation? Yeah, I mean, almost everything in game engines is approximations, right? So not just in terms of physics, but also in terms of rendering. You know, lighting specifically is all approximations. Depends on the physics engine and what the use case is. Yes, that's true, but even still, 99% of the time, it's approximations. Simulation guy, I was wondering how a game engine managed all this. Yeah, approximations, right? Good enough, basically. That's how we manage it. All right, so we're almost done with ads. All right, and ads are done. So just as a quick recap, we do like to pause the stream whenever ads come up on Twitch, which is once every 30 minutes for up to 90 seconds, depending on region and locale. So I do pause the stream so that nobody misses it, because nothing sucks more than having a full screen ad where you can't see or hear what's going on, especially for a programming stream, right? So we pause the ad there, or ads, I should say. Okay, so what is this complaining about? Too many arguments in function call. Oh, this should be is invalid. There we go. Okay, so we resize. So we pass the texture handle, then we pass window width and window height. Right, forget, is that that's a failable operation, right? So we'll check it. And if it fails, say failed to resize depth buffer for window. See logs for details. Right, so we'll do window name. And return, oh. I guess we'll return at that point, right? Or maybe we should not return and just try to like continue on. I think if this fails, that's gonna be like catastrophic, but we probably shouldn't continue, but I'm gonna allow it for now. Okay. So let's go ahead and run this again. Right, and we're going to maximize this. All right. So what have we hit here? All kinds of fun stuff. Okay. VK destroy image can't be called on image, blah, 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 that is currently in use. Right. All submitted commands that refer to the image of the directory. Okay. So Okay, so basically what this is saying is that the depth image is either being currently written to or read from in a one of the 3 command buffers that we have. And so in order to resize an image, you have to delete it and create the new one. And that's what this is bleating about, right? Is it saying, hey, you can't destroy an image that's still in use. The next thing is it's also failing to create the new image, which is fun. So why would that happen? Actually, we have all kinds of create info issues here. So what I'm actually thinking, and of course allocation fails because it probably also doesn't have that. So I think what's happening, if I had to guess, is if we take a look at Vulkan image, when we create this, we have this VK image create info, right, that we fill out. When we do recreate, we, I believe, use this is destroying the old, yeah, we reuse image create info, right, which is supposed to be saved here. I don't think we're actually doing that. So when we go to create the image itself, let's see, after we bind, actually probably before that, VK create image. Okay, so if VK create image is successful, then we need to do out image create info equals image create info, right? We need to store a copy of the image create info. I believe we are also doing that with the view. Memory requirements, which we're going to have to re-get that anyways. Sub-resource range, view create infos. I'm not sure. Yeah, I guess we do need to store that too. Which I thought we were. I could have swore I did all that, but yeah, we did the view create info. So I guess the difference is here we just filled it out on the image struct directly as opposed to setting it all up here and then copying it. Which I suppose we could just follow suit, right? All right, so we'll set the S type here. Let's do K0 memory. We'll do the address of out image create info, and then size of VK image create info. Right, so we'll 0 it first just for good measure in case we forget to set anything. And then we can do out image arrow, right? And actually, we should just be able to do out image arrow. All right, so we can do that. Whoa, what did it do down here? Oh, I see it. It repeated that for that number of lines. Interesting. Okay. Star3GG, thank you for the follow. Appreciate that. Let's see. Right, I guess I meant the degree of approximation depends. Yep, absolutely. Almost always an approximation because digital. Yep, exactly. Must be hard to have something realistic that doesn't break all the time under specific constraints. Yeah, it is difficult. Robotic Head, how's it going? Keeping it real time is really the hard problem. Yeah. For games, real time is greater than reality. Yes, absolutely. In fact, for games, usually physics and like movement and stuff like that is usually exaggerated, or you're allowed to sort of control your character in the air, which is totally not possible with regular physics, just to make the game more playable. So let's see. Worth to keep in mind. Oh, you guys are still talking about the differential equations? Okay. I'm not going to be able to read all that on stream. All right, cool. But GTA physics are exact. Yeah, let me tell you how realistic those are, especially GTA 5's physics, right? Those are the most realistic ever. All right, so, whoops. So we could do out image. Oh, I guess I don't need this anymore, actually. So maybe that will do it. Boy, this build seems really slow still, doesn't it? I think we're getting close to the point where I'm going to write my own build system and see. Because it's getting annoying to maintain. Invalid VK image object. Okay, so this is when we're creating the image view. So when and how did we get this guy? Let's do breakpoint. Okay. So how did we hit this? Here's all the validation layers. I'm going to skip all that stuff. Create image view. View create info. So that looks filled out correctly. What was this bleating about? Invalid BK image object. Oh. Because we didn't update the create info with the new view, or the new image. That's why. Okay. So, a couple things. So when we do recreate, there's a couple things we need to do before we do the recreate. Let's see. Image, where was that? Create image view, here we go. So, image view create info. Image is equal to, what are we actually saving that off to? Image handle. All right, so we have to update the create info's image handle. Could experiment with Zig as your build system. Problem with that is, though, is I'm trying to eliminate dependencies, not add them. So I would actually like to eliminate make as a dependency. And ideally have like the compiler be one of the few dependencies that we have. That's the idea anyway. And I've got some ideas. I've kind of been toying around with some ideas offline. So we'll see where we wind up with that. All right, so let's maximize this. All right, it's still pooping. Okay, now it's complaining about this again. All right, so the usage thing. Do we do a maybe we do. Maybe we say, and I hate having to do this, but I'm going to try this. VK device wait idle, right? Backend, internal context. Oh, do we not have? There we go. So we need context. I just want to see if this actually fixes it, and then we'll see if we can figure out a better way to do it. So we want a device, logical device. Realistically, what we need to do is probably wait until, well, let's see, if we have an image that is taking into account our buffers, right? So we're double or triple buffering. If we have an image that's taking into account that, meaning there are multiple images within the texture, then we'll need to swap each one of those after its particular frame finishes, which I think this is going to be a problem that we're going to run into more in the future. So we may wind up having I might be able to skirt around that issue for now, but we are going to have to resolve it at some point. Interesting. So I guess what we need to do is at the beginning of the frame, before we do anything, we should probably check this. That's what I'm thinking. Okay. So let's take this. Wait. Wait a minute, where are we actually doing? This isn't even the place we should be checking this. This is where we should be checking it, and we're already doing one of these. Recreate swap chain. So maybe we do it I guess that's a good point, right? Like, where do we actually handle this? So we do the resize here. Maybe this isn't the place to do this, right? Maybe we need to take this. Wait a minute. How, though, are we going to get... How are we going to get that texture on the back end, though, if we don't have it here? This is probably where it should be happening. Right, because we sync this here. We do have window backend here, though. So actually we do, whoops. We do actually have what we need here, I believe. Right, so we have window backend. We don't have that. How are we going to get... So I'm going to have to do a... internal get. And I'm going to have to use window renderer states depth buffer render texture handle. All right, so this will get me the internal data that the backend needs, which is texture internal data, right? So we get that internal data. We can do away with this. Actually, instead of doing away with that, we'll just do if we have internal depth, right? Then we will resize. Actually, we just need the handle. We don't even need to do this. The only real question is I guess the window width and height would be updated here. So actually, I think we can actually get away with just that, right? And then this would be, oops. I guess it would just be that. Okay. I think. You guys are talking about like alternate dimensions and stuff. I wish I could keep up with that conversation and like code at the same time, but I can't. Good morning in the Philippines. How's it going? How's it going, Joy? Welcome. All the way from the Philippines. That's quite the distance. How's it going, Guy? I am doing well. How about you? All right, so let me bring this up and maximize. Okay. Did some of our message get actually cut off? I'll submit commands that refer to image either directly or via image view must have completed execution. Okay. So if I can't do it there, right before we sync the frame buffer size generation, free old command buffers. Oh, this probably needs to be removed. Command buffers, recreating swap chain equals false. Maybe I should do this. Maybe I should do this down here. Talking about dimensions and finite elements. Nice. Love it. Make a calculator or a memory game. I mean, Well, what kind of a calculator game, right? Like, do you mean like the TI 80s or whatever they were? Oh, we have ads. All right. So just wait for ads to finish rolling on Twitch, and then we can continue. I might have to split this up. We'll see. I don't want to do too much while ads are running now. There's 15 seconds left on ads. Okay. Ads are dead. So let's try running this again. Same thing. Okay. So the bizarre part about this is it's complaining we can't destroy an image that's in use, right? And this is stencil texture 0, stencil texture 1. So it's saying that we can't destroy those things, but they shouldn't be in use because like the other thing that we got rid of was like we destroyed the command buffers and recreated those as well. So I'm a little lost as to why this isn't working. It's probably something stupid. So let's trace this down, right? All that render texture resize does is basically pass through to the back end. Right, and then the Vulkan aspect of this goes through each one of the individual images that we have, right? So if we're double or triple buffering, it loops through those images and calls recreate on them. Vulkan image recreates does what we were looking at before, right? It deletes the old image, creates the new. So what we should have here recreate swap chain. Maybe this isn't where this belongs. Let's take this out of here. Right, and We can do, I wonder if we should still wait for fences. Right, so after we do this, we would wait for the, well, actually, since we resized, we would boot, right? So we would say, basically, we don't want to render anything this frame. Let's move on to the next frame. I think I really don't want to have to manage this on a frame-by-frame basis. We should be able to just stop everything and perform the resize right then and there. Like in here. Like this device wait idle, I'm surprised that's not enough. So we wait for the execution of the current frame to complete here. Fence frame being free will allow this one to move on. So we would wait for that, check success of it. I wonder if it's happening here, maybe. Reset the fence for use on the next frame. Reset the staging buffer. We might have to take like this check along with this and also do it here. Let's try it the easy way first. Oh, that looks like it worked that time. Did. Okay. All right, so that part of it is fixed. We did get some validation errors up here though. Or some sort of error. Let's see. Hey Ivo, how's it going? Good to see you. Let's see. What's your full-time job? So my full-time job is actually, at the moment, it's writing medical software. So like the software that hospitals use. But in the past, I was in game development. I wrote the front end and back end for online games. It's 9:38 a.m. Nice. Hey, just woke up because my audiobook stopped playing. Nice. Well, welcome. It's been a minute since I've seen you. How are you doing? What's your stack? So stack for this or stack for work stuff? What do you mean? Stack for this is basically C in Vulkan. Oh, for work? Unfortunately, that is TypeScript using Angular, and then Microsoft SQL Server and C# for the API. But, you know, it is what it is, right? Got to pay the bills. I would almost rather use anything other than Angular, to be completely honest, because it's huge and slow, but it is what it is. Not my decision, right? Not my monkey, not my circus. All right, so let's see. Destroying a window that was somehow not registered with the platform layer. Didn't we get a unable to get internal data for depth buffer image? Underlying resources may not be properly destroyed. Okay, so we have a couple of things here that we do need to be concerned about. I think I saw some. Yeah, here we go. Okay, so this is still bleating about the image destruction happening while we're waiting on stuff to complete. Okay, so I guess I could do a queue idle, right? Check. Maybe that would do it. So like right as we do, I guess right here. Maybe we'll do it against the queue, right? So context, device, graphics queue. I am doing well, Ivo. Thank you for asking. Can't complain. I guess since we have a decent amount of viewers here that weren't here when I made the announcement earlier, I'll re-announce. So, as far as tomorrow's stream is going to be a little bit different, both in time and what we're going to be doing. So, I used a lot of the some of the proceeds from the memberships and subscriptions and stuff here to purchase some new hardware for a testing machine that we're going to use to test Kohi on. So it's basically the opposite architecture of what I have on my main machine here. So my main machine has an AMD CPU and an NVIDIA GPU. And this one has an Intel CPU and a AMD GPU. And so what we're going to do is we're going to build that new machine on stream tomorrow. And we're going to start earlier in the day because I actually have the day off because it's a national holiday here in the US. So we are going to be building that on stream starting at, I'm hoping to start right at around 1 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time tomorrow. So yeah, we're gonna start early. We're gonna go probably a little bit longer, like 5-6 hours, something like that. We're gonna build the machine. We're going to get an OS installed. We're going to set it up as a workstation so that we can actually download and install all the things that need to be there for Kohi to actually run and be able to build and test it on there as well, right? So when I mentioned that I do reinvest the proceeds into the channel, I'm not kidding, right? So this is a good example of that, and we're going to do that tomorrow. So we're going to build a machine. It is a low spec machine is the other aspect of this, right? So I want to test this on something that is not, kind of super high spec or anything like that, right? I deliberately bought stuff that was medium low spec so that we would have a completely different environment to test on. So new toy, yeah, exactly. Want to use a thermal pad so bad on my next build. Are you referring to the little thing that replaces the thermal paste? I actually have one of those, and I'm going to use it for the first time because I've never used one of them before. So it should be interesting. Yeah, I'm actually going to be using one of those. Yep. So I've not done that before. I've always used thermal paste. I've been building machines for 20 years. Yeah, it's a solid thermal pad. Yep, exactly. Yep. So, yeah, you'll be able to see live whether or not I like it. So, yeah, we'll go there. Okay. joy over on the YouTube side. Like, what are you on about? Like, I'm going to time you out for a bit because I'm not understanding what your messages are about there. So I actually don't, Ivo. I don't. It's me because there's not usually a lot of traffic over there. So, yeah, at some point I probably need to have one over there. Probably need to have one on both sides. Oh, Spiro, I didn't realize you were over on that side too. That's true. Spiro is a mod on the Twitch side. How do I do that over here though? Bam. Done. Thanks, Spiro. Appreciate it. Yeah, I got it. It's, of course, completely different on YouTube. Awesome. I appreciate it, dude. All right. Let's see. So, yeah, that's what we're going to be doing tomorrow. So, good stuff. And now we have a dragon here. Yep, exactly. All right. Did I already build and try the queue thing, or did I not? I got distracted. I'm wondering if that will actually be enough. I'm for once excited for this new tech. Awesome. Yeah, I didn't even know it was a thing, to be completely honest. Like, I've always just gotten Arctic Silver, right? That's just been my go-to for the last 20 years. And I was at Micro Center, which they put a new Micro Center in kind of somewhat near me. Which, if you guys haven't been to that place, it's awesome. Like, they're not paying me to say that or anything. I'm just gonna put it out there. That place is awesome. For buying computer parts. It's huge. It's like the size of a Walmart, but nothing but computer parts and accessories from wall to wall. It's awesome. But anyway, I was there and one of the guys was actually recommending it. And I'm like, what the hell? I'll give it a shot. So we'll see. See how it works out. Okay, so here is this. I'm just going to try resizing like a not maximize. Okay. So interestingly enough, it's still bleating about this, which is really, really strange. So I guess do I really have to wait on the... I'm trying to think how I managed this before the refactor. I think I was handling all the depth image stuff manually as part of the swap chain resize, which is not really the way I want to do it. Because see, in this case, it was image 0 and image 2. Oh, that's really annoying. So I guess what I need to do is also maybe skip a certain number of images rendering, or a certain number of frames rendering. Like however many frames in flight I have, I should probably also skip that many frames when we are finished doing everything else before we do this. Right? So maybe it's like literally, this is going to be a complete hack, but I'm just going to try it, right? So static U8, skip frames equals 0, right? And then let's see. This is actually going to resynchronize that. Recreate swap chain, I believe, does that. So to avoid a little bit of confusion, I'm actually going to take this part out of here and put it here, right? And I'm going to take I'm not going to allow the sync to happen here until we have if skip frames equals context device max, what is it? Was it not under device? It's under the swap chain. Swap chain max frames in flight. So if those things are equal, then we will do this. Oh, it's not context swap chain. It's going to be window backend swap chain. So if these don't do the thing, I suppose that's actually fine to leave. So we'll wait. Then we'll do a reset on the render flag change. Recreate swap chain. We can do there, and then we'll say if skip frames equals 0, then we'll do this. Then we'll do skip frames plus plus, right? Then we'll do a check here to see if skip frames is if we've skipped the number of frames we need to skip. And then this actually needs to be there. And then we can reset skip frames back to 0. So this only gets called once. Then we increment this. Then we check it to see if we have the max frames in flight. If we've done that, if we have, then this shouldn't be an issue. Then we go ahead and sync the frame buffer size generation and then reset the counter to 0. Makes sense on the surface. Would you ever care to try your hand at a software rasterizer? Yeah, that's actually one of the things that is on my to-do list of things to try. So at some point, yeah, might be an interesting Interesting thing to do. Interesting exercise, right? Dragons are best to keep the poopers out of chats, yeah. Do you use triple frame buffering? So we do if the device supports it. Otherwise, we just use double. Those are easy to write, actually. Java X9 did a tutorial on that. I remember that. That's actually how his console game engine started. Came here from recommendations, and it's episode 215. What's the project, and what are you doing right now? Fair question. So, let me just pull up. I'll give my quick spiel, right? So, let me just drop a link here. Oh, for some reason, my YouTube bot isn't working, but so what we're looking at is the Kohi game engine. So, what this is it's a project that started off as a YouTube tutorial series. And we are building a game engine from scratch, right? Using C as the programming language and Vulkan as our initial rendering backend. So it started off as a tutorial series. Obviously, with any project of any size, especially something like a game engine, that format isn't always going to work, right? So we changed formats, tried a few different things, and eventually landed on the live stream format. And so this project's been going on for about 3 years. I only work on this part-time, right? So it's probably realistically 6 to 8 months worth of full-time work. But we started off on YouTube. Now we are also on Twitch, so we simulcast to both. And we are building a game engine completely from scratch. It is cross-platform, so it is available on Windows, Linux, and Mac OS, with other platforms planned in the future, such as mobile. It is royalty-free and open source. So open source meaning that it is available on GitHub. It is Apache 2.0 license, which means that you can use it for whatever you wish. All that I ask is that you say that you used it. That's it, right? So it's free for use for commercial or independent purposes, whatever you want to use it for. There's no restriction on that. It's a pretty permissive license. Speaking of license, there will never be any sort of license fees or royalties of any kind. This will always be 100% open source and free. The only exceptions to that might be if we wind up porting it to a console. I can't open source that, and in some cases that can't be free just because of licensing for the console itself. But as far as the core engine itself goes, it's always going to be open source and free. And so I say Vulkan is the initial rendering backend because we also have plans to support Direct3D as well as Metal, so that we have those options available as well. And so what we're doing right now is we are cleaning up after a fairly sizable refactor effort and just kind of going through and eliminating the bugs that have come up. Is there any SIMD or multi-threading in the engine yet? So there is multi-threading. There is not SIMD yet. It's on the to-do list. So speaking of the to-do list, we do have quite a extensive to-do list here. And I'm just going to scroll through this really fast. All the things with X's are done. All the empties are not done, right? So we got plenty of work to do, right? We are just shy of actually starting our first project with this, our first game project. How much stdlib are you using? Not much. Very minimal. I'd like to eliminate it completely if possible. But yeah, there are a few things that we're using, we're using printf, I think, on Linux. We're using sprintf, things like that. All those things, though, I eventually want to kind of replace with our own kind of thing. We do use pthreads for threading on Linux and Mac OS, but we use the Win32 library for threading on Windows. So we do try to use OS level stuff where it's possible. But yeah, trying not to overutilize the standard library, the C standard library. Oh, and we have ads. So for those of you who are on YouTube, you can probably still hear me talking. We pause the stream whenever ads come up on Twitch, which is once every 30 minutes for up to 90 seconds, depending on region and locale. So I just don't want anybody to miss anything, so we just pause the stream for that. And speaking of which, I'm going to run ads on the YouTube side as well. Thank you guys for the follow. That name makes me laugh, but I'm not going to read it out loud. It's very funny, though. So we got about 45 seconds left on ads, and then we can jump back into the code. Yeah, no problem, Danilo? I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that correctly. Hopefully. Almost done with ads. You never pronounce the names correctly. Yeah, that's probably true, honestly. Although Taman says I pronounce his name correctly. Danilo. Okay. I was wondering if that was it, but my American accent makes me pronounce things wrong sometimes. Okay, so we have this skip frames logic in place. I don't know if we built this or not, so I'm just going to build it real fast. And let's go to our debugger. Let's see if we can get this to resize without bleating about it. Nope. Okay. Depth stencil texture. 0 and 1. So even though we waited a number of frames, it still didn't seem to work. All right, so let's just step through this logic really quick. Actually, I'm going to close this. Step through this logic real quick. So if the generation is a mismatch, right? Or a render flag changed. Render flags such as vsync, for example. We make sure the device is idle, which is probably overkill. Then if the render flag is changed, we flip that to false. We have this skip frames 0, right? So we say if that's 0, then we go ahead and recreate the swap chain. If that is a success, well, if it fails, then we return false and try again in the next frame, right? Which will go through the same logic. On success, we say skip frames ++. And then we say if skip frames equals the max number of frames in flight, right? Which means, technically speaking, if that's 2, it should skip 3 frames, right? So, or wait a minute, no, I guess it's going to skip just 2 because we increment this here. If I post incremented it, it would, whatever, doesn't matter. So in this case, we say if we have a valid handle for the depth buffer, make sure the graphics queue is idle, which I don't think this is actually doing us any good, so I'm going to just remove that. And then we resize the texture according to the new width and height of the window. And then, bleat about it if that fails. This seems to be working. The problem is it is trying to do this while other stuff is in progress, right? Other command buffers are in progress. And the thing I don't understand is, like, it shouldn't be doing that because it should have waited a number of frames, right? So I guess let's do the naive thing here, right? And we're going to say, actually, you know what? Screw that. I'm going to put a breakpoint. $7.19. All right. So I'm going to put a breakpoint right there. Right, and we're going to resize this again. So our skip frames. Oh, you're really not going to tell me what skip frames is? Seriously? What? Undefined. What do you mean undefined? This isn't picking it up either. Okay. Let's do a clean. And a rebuild. OpenGL will never die. You know what my theory on OpenGL is? And I'm not convinced this isn't already happening, right? But my theory on OpenGL is it's going to be around forever, but eventually it's just going to be a wrapper over Vulkan, right? Vulkan is just going to replace its internals. And every GPU is going to be implemented in Vulkan or Metal or what have you, right? And there's just going to be a translation layer that happens underneath. So OpenGL will be around, sure, forever, but yeah. That's my theory on that. Viking beard, cool. Yeah, I guess a little bit, right? Appreciate that. You did. I was very surprised. You talking about the pronunciation? Sometimes I pronounce things correctly, and then other times I just completely freaking butcher it. All right. Been watching too much X-Files. I'm like, that's exactly what the aliens are doing for the invasion. More or less. You're not wrong, right? Okay, so let's try resizing this. So why won't the debugger give me... This obviously met the criteria, right? But like, I can't even... Like, I don't even think the... It won't give me the... Like, this is static, right? Like, I'm in... This is in scope. Like, why... I swear debuggers are like the worst thing out there, and they're like one of the most important pieces of software, and they all just are terrible. Tried debugging earlier. Is some operation causing the skip frames to become undefined? I don't think so, because the thing is, like, the debugger is actually just treating this like a normal variable. Like, if I hover over this, right, it gives me the actual value of the thing, the address and the value of the thing, right? But like when I hover over this, it's just giving me this as if I were like not even, like it didn't exist at all. So like I could put a breakpoint up here and then, oh, I guess I didn't need to restart, whatever. And then do that. See, it doesn't even give it to me here. Like, does this debugger just not give me static values now? Is that... Help me understand. Have a wild theory, it's crazy, but tried debugging at line 698. Okay. Yeah, womp womp, nothing. Yeah, my sentiment's exactly Spiro. Yeah, just, it's so frustrating. It's so frustrating because, like, debuggers are the one thing that should be the most dependable piece of software out there, right? Because literally every piece of software relies on a debugger. Have you heard of Rad Debugger? Yes, I have. However, it is Windows only. So I understand I'm on Windows tonight, but I'm usually not on Windows. So I am unable to use it until it also works on Linux at a minimum. Who debugs the debuggers? Yeah, that's part of the problem, I think, right? And I don't even... Okay. I'm literally going to have to put this into the state in order to get, like, debuggability. Which is just beyond stupid. I have an issue with the MSVC debugger. Whenever I hit F12, it crashes. That's the kind of stuff I'm talking about, right? It's completely ridiculous. Thank you for the follows, by the way. It just completely undefined. Okay. Let's do this the stupid way. Actually, the more stupid way, because I'm already doing it the stupid way, but apparently that's not stupid enough. So let's go to here. Put it as part of the back end state, right? And then do that. Oops. Like, I totally should not have to do this, but heaven forbid I want a debugger to actually do the thing. Is this time to go the old console.log route? Yeah, I mean, it might be, right? And that's actually what I was going to initially do. I was like, oh, I'll just console.log it. But then I'm like, screw that. You know, maybe I'll do it the right way and actually set a breakpoint. Silly me for wanting to debug my software. All right. So let's put that there. Okay, so it's 0, right? And see, here's the interesting thing. It's already done one of these things. So, all right, I'm just going to skip past that because that's kind of an invalid test, right? Skip. Actually, let's put it here. All right, and let's resize again. Right, okay, we've waited our 2 frames. So now we should be able to do texture resize, and I'm just going to step over this. and it pooped itself again. This is interesting though, because we're actually getting... Wait a minute, is there something... Are we trying to destroy this somewhere else besides just this? Because this is literally the breakpoint that causes that to happen, yet it happened in the log before we actually called this even, so... What is going on here? Okay, so swap chain destroy only handles the color buffer. Okay, that's fine. Vulkan image destroy handles the images. I guess I need to set a breakpoint here and here. This is both destroy image. Those are the only two places in code that that's called. All right, so I know about that one. Okay, so Vulkan image recreate. It's getting called here, I guess. Texture resize. Because the front end is doing it too. I'm a dum-dum. Dingus-oriented programming for the win. Should just be a straight up pass through the back end. The back end should manage that. Let's try that again. Minus the dingusness. Okay. So we no longer get those errors up front. Does this work now? Let me kill all these breakpoints actually. I think it works now. Hey, that looks pretty good to me. No more errors. Woohoo! Solved. Now, next thing, will it poop itself when I minimize? Nope. Sweet. Minimize works too. All right, cool. Bug solved. I'm happy with that. All right, so let's get rid of that stuff. Let's go to... There's no reason that static shouldn't have worked, by the way, but this is probably a better solution because this is per window, right? So if we have multiple windows, it's technically better. Don't need that. Okay. So Windows resizing is fixed. I guess let's take a quick look at the UI and see if we can't figure out some of that bananery that's going on there. Let me build this one more time. And I actually want to crank up RenderDoc and take a capture. Let's see. All right, so we're gonna just do, I'm gonna go ahead and load up a full scene here. Or not. So that's interesting. Scene fails to load when we're in RenderDoc. Help me understand that. RenderDoc's out. This can't be great. I mean, it's not a huge deal. It's just I kind of want to understand what's going on with the UI, right? Okay. So we want to do oh, this is a shadow pass. Okay. I need to put my labels back for this. Wow, look at this. What is RenderDoc doing? That's not the way it looked at all in the application. Okay. So it looks like the only things that are actually drawing are the button and the panel. Bind descriptor sets. Okay. So let's have a look at okay, that seems correct. Let's take a look and see what's in the global UBO. So our projection matrix seems correct. Our view matrix seems correct. What about the push constant? Identity. That explains why none of that stuff is loading in the correct place. Okay, so we're not loading our model matrix for some reason for UI stuff. We're also only drawing at the panel and a 9 slice. A single panel and a single 9 slice. Okay. So we need to look and see. I guess we can look in here. Control X form. We did convert all this stuff to X forms. These are the event handlers, which actually we know those work. So that's not what I'm worried about. That's the only thing in here that actually, okay. Maybe let's look at the panel. So I wonder if we're just not up. I'll bet I know what it is. I'll bet I know what it is. We have this guy, and it's probably not being called anywhere. Because I'll bet we're not actually doing plugin update. So the K plugin update, is that ever getting called, I wonder? This looks like it should be. Let's debug. Let's put a breakpoint here. See if the system's plugin ever gets updated. Negative. Okay. So we're registering a plugin. Why is the update not getting called? Does the frame prepare get called? That's important too. All right. Well, that's neat. Isn't that nifty? So let me relaunch and see. So initialize does get called, which makes sense because stuff's actually loaded. The function pointer is getting set because there's K plugin update right there. So we know our plugin is loading it. So I guess the next question is, update plugins. Does this guy get called? Womp womp. Does not. Okay. So this solution might be easier than I thought initially. So we need to go to engine. This is going to be the same problem that the job system had, actually. System updates, right. This whole to-do that we have here, we need to add to that. So plugin, system, update plugins, engine states, systems, plugin system, address of engine data, state rather, p-frame data. Some of our systems require explicit update calls from the engine because we don't have a registry yet that we can centrally just say, hey, subscribe me to updates. So for now, we have to make those calls manually. And that was one of those things in the refactor that I forgot to hook back up. There we go. Update plugins. I can kill that. And there we go. Standard UI system update. That's going to get called too. Hey. All right. So our transforms are correct again. Cool. So that's half the battle, anyway. The next battle is going to be figuring out why the heck the text is not rendering. Let me see about the dropdown. Yeah, so see our text box here for our entry is there. Ads are also there. Arch, by the way. Vulkan, by the way. Yep. I vote the first game you make is a Roller Coaster Tycoon remake. Man, that's a lot of freaking work. That would be an interesting game to recreate, though. Although those games were written in assembly, if I recall correctly. Bozic, how's it going? Good to see you. In RenderDoc, it looked like the UI text is rendered onto the terrain. Yeah, I don't know what was going on with RenderDoc. Like, all the textures were screwed up. I might have to, like, update RenderDoc and see what's going on with that, because I don't really understand. Tried debugging a debugger. Yeah, so I did resize the image once in the front end, once in the back end. Yep, that was the issue. What are your thoughts on scripting languages? They're not always necessarily needed. We probably will do one here for educational purposes, but you can always hot reload your game library too, right? It has its unique benefits and drawbacks, just like anything else, right? Benefits of a scripting language would be it's easier to add features to your game without having to recompile all the time. A lot of times you can hot reload those during runtime, stuff like that. The bad part about it is you have to implement all that overhead that goes with that. You have to implement your scripting language's API, expose all the function calls. It's a huge vector for bugs, et cetera, et cetera. So look and see. Reminds me of an old DJ Rush song. Which one? Probably a couple songs back, right? Melinda, how's it going? All right. Dr. Elliott, you clipped dingus-oriented programming. That's awesome. Perfect. That says everything you need to know right there. I love it. That's going to turn into a YouTube short, I think. All right. So our dev console appears, right? Looks like our font isn't rendering here, but I bet if I type, yeah, see if I type, the little cursor moves. And I can actually type in like exit and it quits. So for some reason our text objects aren't drawing. So there's a few reasons I suppose that could be. SUI label. Actually, you know what? I'm gonna put some breakpoints in label. Because so update doesn't really do anything, and I'm not sure that that's correct. But render definitely should. All right, so maybe we'll put a breakpoint there. So our quad count is 0. So I'm actually going to turn this off for a second. Continue. All right, so this is a bitmap font, so this is probably our debug font, right? So we have text set here. Okay, so our quad count is 0, which tells me that we have not updated the geometry. SUI label set text. So that literally just sets the text and then marks the string as dirty. Regenerate label geometry. So frame prepare. So let's put a breakpoint here. Continue on. That's never getting hit. Well, that would do it. It's never getting called. Okay, so that's why we know why it's not rendering now, at least. So when we create, yeah, that is the right function. So we have this hooked up. Is our, oh, I'll bet this is the same issue, right? I'll bet this is the, yeah, see, we actually have a breakpoint here. This is not ever getting called. This is why. Okay. So it's actually the same issue as before in the engine. So we have the renderer prepare frame here. Update systems that need them. So let's do, I feel like I should do the plugin system frame prepare plugins first. Systems, plugin system. Address of engine states, pframe data. I love that you clipped that, by the way, Dr. Elliott. That's hilarious. That is why I use IMGUI for UI stuff. So in this case, like, you know, we're not using that because we're learning how to actually build those systems from the ground up, right? The issue here is that, you know, in true Dingus fashion, I didn't hook it back up. Yeah, see, here's the frame prepare right there. So let's continue on with that. All right. I suspected there were going to be some issues around here, so I'm not surprised to see this. Okay, copy command buffer. Copy buffer was called before vk begin command buffer. Okay, what that probably means is I actually need to take this and put it there. Thank you for the follow. Appreciate that. Slate, yeah. Isn't that's Unreal's UI system's name, right? I think. Yeah, thought so. Okay. Oh, this is probably where we needed to... That's going to happen after this, actually. Okay, yeah. This can't go here. It's actually going to happen here. I'm just going to do to-do here. Actually, I guess I don't need a to-do on that. Can make it a note. Oh, look what I even had down here. Frame prepare for systems that need it. Let's actually move this up move this down below the label. Even had a label there. All right. Be awesome if we could get this working before the end of the stream. Okay, frame prepare is called. Why? All right, render data, I'm going to guess is null. Yes. Yes, it is null. All right, you bananas, why are you null? Plugin states. State. So the render data is the last. Render data. Okay, so I probably need to. I think I can use my stack allocator for this. Let's see. So prepare frame, P frame data, I guess. Plugin state, render data, standard UI render data equals, oops, P frame data. Do we not have include core frame data? So P frame data allocator, allocate size of standard UI render data. Right, and we're using our frame allocator to do that, so we don't have to worry about freeing it every frame, because the frame allocator will take care of that for us. There's nothing to free, it's a linear allocator. All right. All right, so it's trying to push it. I think I know what this is too, actually. Render roles needs to be a D-array. Okay, so we actually have to set this up here as well. So we need to go plugin states, render data, renderables equals D-array create with allocator. What was this? I think it was just standard UI renderable, and allocator is going to be I think the address of P frame data allocator. And then we're also going to need render data UI atlas. I thought I would have set all that stuff up. Equals plugin state UI atlas. We need the address of that. Okay. Kind of surprised that actually was working without that being in place, to be completely honest. All right, run this. All right, we're closer. We are closer. All right, so we do have... Why is it just rendering that though? What am I missing? What's really interesting is that I see text rendering up here, but then this is all completely wrong. Like I can see that up there is I guess it's just positioned wrong. Maybe I need to resize the window. Yeah, there it is. Okay, so we're like half working, right? I think I need to call like a resize ones manually when we actually get the thing up and running. So our bitmap text works. That looks like it's working, but our system text is just completely lost the plot. Guess you have to do a to-do stream. Yeah. Yeah, the to-do was there the whole time, exactly. Yeah. I left that as a note to myself and then forgot about the note. Okay. So I guess... Oh, I think I know what might be happening here. That looks suspiciously like the default checkerboard texture. I think that's exactly what that is. I think that's the default checkerboard texture that's showing up there. So our glyphs are all the right size. It's just, it's rendering with the wrong texture. So this texture is correct. This one's not for some reason. So Kellos, how's it going? Welcome to the stream. It's going pretty good here. We've actually knocked out a few bugs, which is really good. I'm just fixing some issues around font rendering, in general UI rendering tonight. Which it looks like we have a lot of that stuff fixed. It's just there's an obvious issue here with the text that I've got to figure out. But yeah, that's more or less what we're working our way through the bugs, right? Let me see. So why... It's the label. Well, technically, yeah, it is the label. It's the label that's acting up. Override option here for the shape. Nope, don't need that. So I don't think it's any of that. Here we go. So we're overriding the default UI atlas because we want to use that of the loaded font instead. So the font itself has its own atlas that we should be using. Atlas override. So the problem might be in here. So SUI locations, diffuse map, atlas. So the atlas is either going to be, if we have an atlas override, it should be using that. Otherwise, it should be using the internal data UI atlas. But it sure as hell looks to me like it's not using either. Like in this case, we don't have a material, right? I think even the clip mask stuff is actually working. I think it's literally just, for some reason, loading the wrong texture here. Think about this. What has changed? What has changed? I guess I could put a thank you for the follow, Original Lord 1997. Appreciate it. I guess I could put a breakpoint here, so 211 in UI render graph node. See what the heck it's actually using. I'm going to skip a few frames. Bring this down. Okay. So the Atlas override has a height and a width of 128. Oh, that's the mono one. Okay, so I'm going to skip that one. That's not the one I want. Okay, so that one doesn't have an override. All right, fair enough. That one doesn't have one. Okay, here we go. I see the issue. So here's the system font Atlas, but look at the generation. Invalid ID. So that relates back to another thing that we changed in the refactor. Let's see, is that going to be under font? Yeah, see, generation isn't even referenced in here at all. Okay, so what we want to do is do create system font variant. This is all the different sizes of the system font, right? So we should have create the texture. Here we go. So here is our texture creation. Acquire writable. So probably the texture system should be doing this. All right, so this just points to the arrayed version of that. If needs creation, so we create the texture. Generation is invalid ID. Okay, so that's where that gets set, right? So for non-loaded textures, yeah. If we're skipping the load, then we never increase the generation, which is wrong. So this should do. That. I guess technically we should do it after the resource acquisition. All right. Build success. Let's run. And what do you know? It is fixed. That's what it was. Awesome. The old knuckle crack. Crushing bugs left and right tonight. Zella, hello, how's it going? Welcome to the stream. Remember in the old days building something on a single core used to take 15 minutes? Oh yeah. I mean, if you build Unreal Engine, it still takes 15 minutes, right? With multiple cores. Actually, it probably takes longer than 15 minutes on a lot of people's machines. All right. So it does the thing. It's freaking sweet. The only thing that I want to figure out really quickly is when we... Because I think I could fix this really fast. When we first load this up before resize, right, like this text is in the wrong place, our viewport's kind of foobar. But as soon as I resize it, it's fine. So I want to see about fixing that. And I'm going to go to, let's do engine. Where we are creating when we're creating the windows. Let's see, on window created. I'm also going to do a render on window resized. We're just going to call this manually once. Systems, render system, and then window. Window is of the right size. Ports and of such are the right size. I'm doing pretty good. Yeah, we actually have had pretty good progress on bugs tonight. I'm almost at the point like where I'm kind of thinking of just, yeah, that fixed the bug, by the way. See, it's perfect when it loads now. I'm almost at the point now where I'm like, any remaining bugs we could probably just foist off until we actually do the Mac OS. Let me make sure my console works. Does. So, yeah, see, that's all working again. VSync does not seem to want to switch for some reason, so that's a bug. We've got a couple things here that we have to fix as well. Not being destroyed when we actually clean up, but it looks like our parsing for our debug console needs a little bit of work too, but I'm not too worried about that, at least for starting the next game project. So I think we're getting really close to actually being done with this refactor. I'm considering this just about done, minus the Mac portion of it. So maybe one more video, maybe 2 max, I'm thinking. But we're probably not going to touch that tomorrow, I'm guessing, because, and I'll just announce this one more time just for anybody that's filtered in sort of here at the last minute, but tomorrow we are going to be doing a different stream than normal. So I've used some of the proceeds from the stream to purchase some new equipment. And we're going to be building a new machine to test the engine on. So I have my main rig that I'm working on right now is it's got an AMD CPU with a NVIDIA GPU on it. This one is going to have an Intel CPU with a AMD GPU on it. And I'm building it as a sort of mid to lower spec machine to have us test this engine on something that is not, got crazy specs on it. So it's going to serve a little bit of a dual purpose there, allow me to test on a greater variety of hardware. And we're going to build that machine on stream tomorrow. And so our stream is also going to be a little bit at a different time. So it's going to be 1 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. And so that's about the time we're going to get started, and we're going to build the stream, or we're going to build the machine on stream, and then we're going to, get Windows installed and all that good crap. And then we'll go ahead and set it up as a dev workstation, so that we can actually get Kohi up and running on it, and test it a little bit, see how that works out. So what I'm going to do here actually is just open a terminal, and let's do a get status. So this is all the stuff that we've talked about and changed and whatnot. So we're going to say various Windows platform bug fixes. I mean, technically it contains other big bug fixes as well, but whatever. All right. So we've got that pushed into the branch so that way we can pull that code tomorrow. And that is probably where we're going to go ahead and end the stream for tonight. So, yeah, I think that's a pretty good starting point, right? Test on RPI 5. I own way too many ARM boards for testing. So ARM testing, that's actually interesting you bring that up before we close out. I actually have an M1 Mac. So that's going to cover my ARM testing needs. Right now it's just using Rosetta basically to just translate from x64 over to ARM, but eventually, like when we start doing SIMD and stuff like that, we're going to have to develop some ARM specific stuff, which thankfully I have a machine to actually test that on. So we are good on that front too. But yes, eventually we're probably going to need something different there too, but we'll see. We'll cross that bridge when we come to it. All right, so that's going to do it for tonight's stream. Thank you guys for being here. I really appreciate it. And if you haven't already, I would ask that you toss me a follow on here and on the YouTube side. It helps me grow the channel. I'm trying to grow this to encourage people to get into game development and game engine development specifically. And so the more people I reach, the better, right? So I really appreciate it. And yeah, thank you guys for being here. Let's choose somebody to raid. Let's see. Ooh, I know who I'm going to raid. Because he's raided me a couple of times, and I've not got to return the favor, so I'm going to do that now. We are going to raid Kuju, who is making a game called Fat Goblins, which looks freaking awesome. So, we're going to raid him now, and yeah, that's going to do it. So I will see you guys next time. All right, peace.